Yay Networks.
Hello.
Hey, hey.
I'm Emily.
And I'm Laura.
And this is Cheers to That Shit.
I was going to say it with you, but you started too quickly.
I held out the shit for a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not singing. Sorry.
Well, that's probably for the best.
Definitely for the best. Definitely.
I'm excited.
Me too.
Today we have on a cake baker extraordinaire.
Yeah, she really is.
And we know her personally. We're very excited that she is on. Before we bring her in, though, I want to talk about sweet tooths and desserts.
I am definitely a dessert person.
Oh my God, me too.
But I'm a cake, bake, cupcake, cookie kind of person. I'm not a sweet tooth like a candy or candy bars or.
Oh no, I'm like, I don't like
baked goods.
I love baked goods.
Yeah.
Chocolate cake is my favorite. I do like candy bars. I don't like
hard candy and
that, or like the gummy candy, like
or we were talking about Twizzlers before.
No.
Yeah, it's like eating plastic.
I'm not eating plastic. Yeah, I don't like that kind of candy. If it has chocolate, anything in it.
Yeah, me too.
I'm about that life.
Do you like donuts?
Yes. What am I, a psycho? I love donuts.
Well, I mean, fun fact about
Okay.
So Krispy Kreme is oh God, I love Krispy Kreme.
No,
okay.
I like the cake donuts.
Well, I like those too, but I love Krispy Kreme. So I guess it's kind of a regional thing, Krispy Kreme. I know it's not like all over the country. So when they make their donuts, for those of you who don't know, and they go through and the icing runs on them, they have this like light outside on the marquee of the building that lights up and it says hot now. And I'm so obsessed with them. They have an app for that.
Stop.
And it
Stop.
The hot
Does it send you a notification?
It's a notification. It pops up on your screen and it's the hot now sign. Their actual neon sign that says hot now. And my phone would light up. This was like I want to say a couple of summers ago. Pre-COVID, definitely pre-COVID.
Yeah.
So my phone would light up and the hot now thing would be on there. And I was like, we have to go to Krispy Kreme like right now. There was one point when we were going there like 3 times a day.
Oh my God.
So all my kids were out of school and it was summertime. So they were in high school. So they're always having friends over, hanging out by the pool, swimming and all that stuff. So parents would always drop their kids off with food and stuff like that. So we'd be making these Krispy Kreme runs. It would be 11 o'clock at night. And I was like,
hot now, baby.
The hot lights on. We have to go. I want to say it lasted for a couple of months. I had to delete that off of my phone.
Yeah.
Because it was a lot.
You get very like addicted.
I
to,
do.
Like, you get certain like attachments to things and then you're like, nah, I don't ever want that
again. Once I'm done, it's like, I'll never eat a Krispy Kreme donut again, except for that one. But yes, I do that.
No, I like cake donuts, like the duck donuts.
I love duck donuts.
Fuck me up. Yeah. So, but my favorite is chocolate lava cake.
Oh gosh, where it like the little onesie cakey thing where it melts in the middle.
Peanut butter in the middle that's melting out.
That's a plus. Yeah,
that's sex for me. That's it. That's top notch. You can't beat that. I always say dessert goes to the heart, not the stomach. That's why there's always room for dessert because it doesn't actually go to your tummy. It goes to your heart.
Sweet.
Oh my God, thank you.
That was just so sweet and kind of profound.
Yeah, and that's why you always have room for dessert.
I don't care if it goes to the heart or the stomach. Some desserts going in my mouth one way or the other.
I don't care where
Usually when I go to a restaurant, I like to look at the dessert menu first because I want to see, because that's just going to gauge how much I'm going to eat.
Same. Okay. Back on topic to wedding cakes.
Yeah, let's talk about wedding cakes.
Because you guys know, and if you don't know by now, I love weird history. I don't like war history. I mean, except for certain wars, but like I love like the Victorian era.
Yeah, just trivia history kind of.
Yes, and like those types of time, like ancient Rome. So of course I had to look back and see like when wedding cakes started and where it came from and how it's got to this point. So I have some cute little fun facts for everybody before we bring Maggie on. And did you know that the earliest wedding cake was known as the Banbury cake, and it was started and became popular in 1655.
The what cake?
I may not be saying it correctly. Banbury.
Oh, like Banbury. I wasn't sure because in French isn't like Baine or something cake. Or
I don't know.
oh, well, I just thought
Yes. Bonjour, oui, oui. I have no idea.
Oh.
And then we have talked about Queen Victoria before with her wedding dress, but white was not a normal thing for a cake. It used to not even be iced, but
Ooh.
the white icing became attached to that in the Victorian era because Queen Victoria chose a white laced dress
She wanted her cake
in
to match.
1840 and she wanted her cake to match. And that is when the white icing for a wedding cake became a thing.
Interesting. Isn't that funny how traditions start?
It's hilarious.
And people today are like, oh, you have to have white icing. It's like, why?
Yeah.
I don't want white icing. But you have to. It's a tradition.
It's a wedding cake.
Yeah.
And that's why they have the groom's cakes that are like your rehearsal dinner
Right.
cakes that are like the fun cake.
Yeah. Because
but
there's
your
no
wedding
tradition
cake.
for that.
No.
It was the person who made up the like, I don't want white cake, so I'm going to
Yeah.
make something else.
Or it was the like some disgruntled husband that was like, why do you get a cake? And I know it's like, shut up, Dan. We'll make you a cake.
Here,
God.
make it whatever you want.
And then cakes are represented. I was like, why do we even have wedding cake? Like
Right.
prosperity, good luck, and fertility.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder.
Oh, I can tell you where. Ancient Rome is when it started because at the end of the night, they would break a bread and it was like a scone-like wheat barley cake over the bride's head in giving her that good fortune, prosperity, and fertility. Because you know what happens on a wedding night. So yeah, they would break the cake over her head.
Crumbs fall on her head so that she can go make
fertile.
Babies.
Yeah. So when I read that, I was like, I don't know if I love that a wedding cake is like fertility, but that's
that's just obviously a I don't what's the word I'm looking for? Like not a myth, but you know what I mean? Like
it's just
one of those things.
Yeah.
One of those
things.
Maybe that's why we feed the cake. I was gonna say like feed the cake to each other and eat it. It's like instead of crumbling it over our heads. It's here, honey, let me crumble this over your head.
Good luck. Okay, we're gonna take a break. Oh, what?
I was leaning into never mind.
Oh, are you gonna crumble bread on my head?
Yeah, I was.
Please, I need all the good luck I can get. Okay, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back. We'll bring in Maggie with Banko Bake, and she's going to answer some questions for us that we know couples need to know. And then she's going to tell us a little cake story that we love our guests to tell.
Looking forward to that.
Yep. We'll be back. We're back.
Hi.
We're about to bring on Maggie.
Yeah.
We're very excited. We have a ton of questions for her, so I hope she's prepared. Let's bring her in.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you
For
guys
everyone
doing?
that doesn't know, we actually know Maggie personally. She is in the Raleigh area. She's done the wedding shows that we've had, and we've done also a styled shoot with her. So we have worked very closely with her. We're very, very excited to have you on today.
Absolutely.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm excited to be here. This is so fun. So exciting.
Yes. If you will do just a short intro, let everyone know about you and your journey and how you got started, because I'm very fascinated with how and when you got started.
Okay. Yes. So I went to NC State for college. I studied business entrepreneurship and I graduated in 2021. And so I was in school during the whole pandemic situation. And when I went back home, when I went back home in 2020, there was literally nothing to do, like a couple online classes, but absolutely nothing going on. So I just started baking all the time just because why not? It was something to pass the time. And I had known that I wanted to work in a bakery at some point in my life, but I didn't really know where to start. So my mom told me to start an Instagram page, make it kind of like a little online portfolio. And then after that, I just kind of ran with it. I ended up working for a bakery in the Raleigh area, like my senior year of college. But then once I graduated, I wanted to start my own thing. And so technically I started 2020, but the business portion of things started in 2021. And I just started reaching out to wedding venues, trying to market everywhere that I could. And here I am. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's such a great story.
I know. I love that too, because I mean, I'm sure that so many wedding vendors started in 2020 because I've always wanted to be a wedding planner, or I love taking pictures. I'll just start. But I mean, how long did they really last? But you have become extremely successful in the short amount of time that you started your business, and completely soared. I'm like, it's a success story.
It is a success story because there's so much negativity and, doom and gloom and businesses not surviving COVID. So
Yeah.
this is just a really positive,
Outcome.
happy outcome of turning that situation into a great business.
Yeah, well, thank you. I feel like I got kind of lucky because I know businesses that existed before COVID and then it didn't go well for them. So being able to start after that was all figured out and everything was kind of calming down, I feel like that was definitely on my side in a good way. But yeah, I've been having fun with it. So I'm happy it's turned out the way it has.
I love that you're like, yeah, I like to bake. So I started baking during COVID. I think I made like a banana bread loaf, and I was like, I'm fucking done. I don't want to, because I saw everyone's like making bread. I'm going to try making this bread that I've never made before. I'm going to try making these cupcakes and this cake. And I did one. I was like, I'm not a fucking
Well,
baker.
and there were so many so many people posting like, oh, what am I going to cook today? Y'all share your favorite recipes. It became like this big
and Maggie's
thing.
over here like, oh, super cute. Just made like a 3-tier cake. No big deal. Here's my Instagram. Bada boom, bada bing. Yes, thank you.
If I had started baking or doing that during COVID, I would be taking up this whole couch right now.
Yeah, it definitely didn't start off as like my first wedding cake was a little 2-tiered one. It had 0 support in it. I was scared for my life delivering that thing. So at the beginning, I feel like I just got really lucky.
Well, good. Hey, you know what? Lady luck is always something
That's
we need
right.
on our side.
That's all you need. No need to make excuses for that.
Nope. So we have put together some questions that, one, we don't think that couples know one, either to ask or like really that they should be asking, or that it's something
they just never
out
thought
there.
of.
They just, the first thing that I want to ask is kind of coming to the, let's say you've gone through the whole process. How soon do couples need to finalize their cake order?
I would say finalize about 3 months in advance. Typically, if you're reaching out between 5 to 3 months in advance, I feel like that's probably the sweet spot. You can reach out well before that, and you should if it's a September or October wedding. Pretty much right now, my calendar for September, October is booking up very, very quick. So some people do that a year in advance. Really any other time throughout the year, I feel like that 5 to 3 month before the wedding date is a good timeline for couples. I say that because, for me, I do the business myself. So getting to inquiries and phone calls and scheduling meetings, it might take a little bit of time. You're not going to initially reach out and then sign the contract, finalize everything 2 days later. So just give yourself a little time. That makes it less stressful, I feel like, to not have to get a response every 2 seconds. But yeah, that like 5 to 3 months is a sweet spot, I think.
Yeah, I guarantee you people don't think that they need to book their wedding cake that far in advance.
I think it's something that they think of like, oh, okay, my cake. Cause that's a big part of a reception, but then the actual coming to it there, you have the venue and the wedding planner and the photographer and the caterer and the DJ. I feel like those are like the big vendors. And then they get to I say smaller, not in an insulting term, but like they're still very important and they still make or break a wedding, but they go down this timeline.
The timeline makes them categorized in, I want to say, in order of importance based on the farthest out first, as it goes. But,
and I'm definitely someone that loves timelines. So I'm totally fine being a baker, being at the bottom of the timeline doesn't offend me at all because I like planning things out. So I don't care where I am on the list, just as long as they've planned
as long as I'm on the list.
Right. Right.
So how should they even get started in this wedding cake process?
So I feel like a lot of the times bakers will have a website where they probably have a contact form. And if they do, they kind of have those basic starter questions listed in the contact form. So it's kind of just a select and fill in the blank situation for the couple, which does make it easier for everyone pretty much. But there are a few people that will reach out and they'll say, hey, we're looking for a cake for this date. We honestly don't really know what we want. Do you have any ideas? And so if you're someone that doesn't know where to start at all, make sure you know the serving size that you're looking for. Definitely if there are any allergies. I've had some people order their cake and then very last minute, by the way, it needs to be gluten-free. And so that's definitely important to know at the start. So basic information like that, delivery address of the wedding venue. But for the design of a cake, I highly recommend, I know Pinterest is very dangerous with setting your expectations way too high, but if you go on Pinterest and type in your color scheme of your wedding, or I don't know, large modern cake or small rustic wedding cake, there's going to be so many options that come up. So if you know just a couple key words of what your general style is, what shows off your personality, kind of what you want to display at your reception, Pinterest is a great way to do that. You can just screenshot it, send it to the baker. And then once they have that basic information that's on their contact form with a couple reference photos, you can pretty much get your price really quick. They can tell you, we can combine this design with this design, and then you're pretty much good to go.
Do you find that couples are, well, I'm not quite sure how to say this, either one way or the other, like they have no idea, or it's like, this is exactly what I want, or are they kind of in the middle? Because I feel like younger people today are pretty decisive. They kind of know what they like, what they want. So I was just kind of curious how people are filling that format.
I definitely think that people are pretty decisive of what they want. I would agree definitely with that. I don't get many people that send reference photos and say, I need this exact cake to a T. I don't want it to look any different. A lot of people are definitely willing to change some colors with what might look best in the reception hall in situations like that. And then there are definitely people that don't even want a cake. They just want a dessert table. And so those people, they kind of know exactly what they want. And then if you do want a big cake, those people really want the big cake. And so I feel like it is kind of in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did a
That's good though, that they're
buffet.
that it sounds like most people are filling in and putting what they want, even if they don't have a photo, they kind of have a good idea of what they're looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
When you, so last question, we'll take a little break, we'll come back. When you are getting to know these couples, because that's something I feel like we talk about all the time. Like you work with your wedding vendor or your wedding planner throughout the entire process, your photographer, your DJ, you're really getting to know these vendors, and you want your cake to show the personality of the couple that you are, but they're not really working with you and talking with you throughout the whole process. So do you find it difficult, or when you first started, did you find it difficult to figure out the personality of the couples and what they are asking for in terms of, like, obviously people don't know like cake lingo, so what they're trying to get out of this so that when it's sitting in their reception hall, it's portraying who they are, and it's giving off those vibes of like, yes, this is it. This is us, our cake, bing, we're married.
Yeah, that was definitely something that I kind of had to figure out where my position fell as I was getting into the wedding industry. Something that helps so much with that is the in-person wedding shows and open houses at venues where you get to initially meet the couples right off the bat. You can ask them face-to-face questions. They can see your personality, see how you work with people. That's really important, having the face-to-face thing, because when someone goes to my website and fills out a contact form, it goes to my email, and then it's all between email. So you can't really read someone's personality through email, obviously. And then that's another thing where I started up social media, posting behind the scenes and day in the life of a baker. And so people can really get to know me right off the bat before they even decide to contact me in the first place. And
Yeah,
so
I love those videos that you post.
oh, thanks. Thank you. But yeah, the in-person wedding shows, best thing I've ever done. I cannot tell you how helpful it is to actually meet people face to face. And then when they come to pick up their tasting boxes, or maybe they're picking up a birthday cake before they actually order their wedding cake, being able to even just talk to them for 2 minutes when they pick up the box, that's always good.
That's great. That's great to hear
Yeah.
as being in the wedding show business.
Tell all your friends. Yeah. Quick, because I lied. Quick other question before we take a break, because you just brought up. So the tasting boxes, that was something I wanted to ask. You do offer then tasting boxes for your
Yes.
couple, because you are in just like a small like studio bakery type thing. So you're not a walk in off the street type
Right.
of brick and mortar building. Like you don't have something that people can just walk into. So when you have those tasting boxes, do they select, hey, I want these flavors, this flavors, or do you just have kind of a blanket, these are the flavors that I offer? If you wanted something specific, you have to request that?
Right. So actually, I'm coming out with new tasting boxes in July. So I'm going to start them in July. People have already started placing their orders, but it's going to be 5 pre-selected flavors from the menu, which is all on my website. And then every month, those flavors are going to change. So closer to fall and Christmas, I might do like chocolate peppermint and some more seasonal flavors so that I can kind of change it throughout the year. And if you're having a spring wedding, you can get the spring box or the fall wedding box, situations like that. Because leading up to now, I've done tastings where they're in the form of cupcakes, so they don't necessarily represent cake slices, but people have been able to choose completely custom flavors. And now that the business is kind of ramping up, it's getting a little too tedious to do every individual cupcake in completely different flavors. So the new tasting boxes will do those pre-selected flavors. They're going to be perfect. Everyone can decide which box they want to go ahead and basically pre-order, get on the calendar for, depending on what style of wedding you're going to have.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Okay. Let's take a break, and we come back. We'll hound you with more questions.
Okay, perfect. Sounds good.
Okay, we're back. We have more questions, Maggie. I hope you're ready.
I'm very ready.
This next one is about, so let's say a couple goes through, they've booked that 3 to 5 months out with you. Their wedding is coming up this weekend. How far in advance do you prepare the actual wedding cake?
Oh, that's great. I've always wanted to know that.
Oh,
I've only had like 2 people ever ask me this, so I'm glad you're asking. With a wedding, so say the wedding's on a Saturday, I will most likely be baking the cake layers for the full tiered cake on Thursday. And then once they're out of the oven, I let them cool to room temperature, wrap them up, and then I put them in the freezer and then take them out Friday. So they're basically just in there overnight. And then take those out on Friday. And then because they're as cold as they possibly can be from being in the freezer, the stacking process is so smooth. There's no toppling, the cake's not caving in on itself. So I'm working with pretty firm cake layers, which helps the buttercream not melt, all that good stuff. And then the whole decorating process happens Friday, and then put that in the fridge, and I'm ready to go whenever the delivery is the next day.
Wow.
So as you being a one-woman show, how many weddings can you take on in either a day or a weekend? Because we know people are getting married more on Fridays and Sundays now.
Right. I would say in a weekend about 3. It definitely depends on the size. So if someone just wants a little cutting cake and then they're getting desserts through their catering team already, then I can take on a couple extra. But if it's like full 3-tiered cakes with delivery and setup at the venues, because that takes a couple hours each delivery, then that would be about 3 weddings a weekend.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
that's still a lot. I mean, for a cake baker. Yeah, I think so.
How long? Because I saw one of your videos about you talking about social media and having to put out all this content, which I love the like realness of that, because as having a business now, we thrive and survive on what we put out on social media, and it takes so much longer to do stuff. And that's something that you talked about in that video of it already takes so much time to decorate a cake, especially if it's something that's very intricate, but then having to do like how it's made or watch me decorate can double the time. How long does it take you to make a cake without filming? Then also, how long does it take to make when you are filming it?
I could decorate, say it's, that like textured buttercream style that's really popular. Got little ridges around the whole cake. If it's a style like that, I could stack and decorate the whole cake in, I would say, an hour and a half, maybe.
Jesus.
Are you thinking that's long or short?
No, short.
Oh.
Like, that would take me 7 years.
Oh, well, yeah. And it certainly wouldn't look like hers, does it?
But that's with like layers already baked, everything's cooled. So I literally just pull it out of the freezer, stack, decorate, put it in the fridge again.
Right.
But if I'm filming, that's going to be like 4 hours.
Wow. That's a chunk of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you save those times where you're going to film when you're maybe not as booked over a weekend? If you had 3 big cakes or something going out on a weekend, you kind of wait until you have a slower weekend, or maybe do something during the week?
Yeah, exactly. If I have a very busy weekend, I'm not touching my camera. I don't want anything to do with it. I just want to put my head down, get my work done, because once the time starts moving, like when I'm actually working, time flies. And if I'm filming, but I also have 3 deliveries to make, my stress is not going to be able to handle it. I get so stressed out so easily. So I definitely save my filming days for, like, July is a pretty slow month for weddings, especially in North Carolina. So I'm going to be making a lot of content in July, and then I can kind of save it off to the side, do my voiceovers for my Instagram and TikTok videos later. But if it's busy, I'm just going to keep my head down and work, because if something goes wrong with the cake, I don't care about Instagram. That's just, it's definitely hard to balance both, like you said, with how social media is so important for every single small business that exists now. But you don't have to do it every day. And if you try to, it's going to take over.
That's a really great mindset, because I know it's really hard to find that balance between running your business and serving your customers and social media.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
Do you ever, and I feel like I already know the answer and it's going to pain me. Do you ever make a cake for social media and then have to like
scrap it?
Yes, absolutely. I have a cake. It's like a 6-inch cake sitting in my fridge right now. I've had it in there probably 5 months that I just scrape, decorate. Okay. And when I do my cake decorating classes that are on my blog, that's the one that I use every single time.
Oh,
so it's not edible anymore after 5 months. I'm taking it.
No,
I was going to say, bring it on over here.
If you ever like make a cake from start to finish and you're like, great, what am I going to do with this now? We'll take it. 100%. I'm like, that pains me, because it's like so much work that you're putting into it. And then you're like, and just erase all this.
And side note, if you ever need taste testers, we'll volunteer for that too.
100%. 100%. Okay. Perfect. So now I want to talk about something that can be kind of uncomfortable for, I feel like, any business owner. And then it's the number one thing that wedding or engaged couples want to know: costs. How do you break down costs? How do you come to that conclusion? Because obviously, like, time goes into it, the ingredients, efforts, you're driving there, if you're delivering, what is your, I guess, equation to come up with your costs?
I feel like the easiest way, depending on where you live, obviously we're in North Carolina, just Googling the average cost of wedding cakes and then wedding desserts. So if it's cupcakes, cake pops, whatever, what the average cost is in your area per serving. And so when you reach out to a baker, already knowing in the back of your head, okay, North Carolina is $6 to $9 per serving for a wedding cake, depending on the level of decoration. Knowing that in the back of your head is really good to start with, because there are definitely some people that will reach out. They have a guest count of 100, but their budget for their full tiered cake is 300. And when you divide that by the guest count, it doesn't really add up.
No.
So knowing what the average is in your area is a good start. And then, like you said, describing that cost to people. It's the ingredients and materials, the time, not just decorating, but getting all the materials, delivering and setting up a wedding venue, whether that's 20 minutes away from the baker or an hour and a half. And then also the skill set of the baker that you're contacting, because you'll definitely see comments like on social media, oh, I could get that for cheaper at Publix or at Walmart. And it's like, yeah, you could, because it doesn't look the same. So,
right. And it's not going to taste the same because it's mass manufactured.
Produced,
yeah.
Right, exactly. So definitely understanding that there are more factors that go into it aside from just the flour, butter, and sugar. That's definitely important. So when you do divide the cost that you're paying by the guest count that it serves, as long as it comes within the average in the area, then I promise you're not being scammed. It's not a ripoff. If that's something that you want to pay for, then just make sure you do your research beforehand.
Yes. And then last question, and then we want to hear a crazy cake wedding story.
Oh, okay.
But you brought up earlier dessert buffets.
Mm-hmm.
What is your opinion on those? And I love that you said like a slicing cake, because I do feel like people with dessert buffets still want that experience.
Yeah.
And that's literally what Ryan and I did. We did a whole dessert buffet and then just had, because I wanted to cut the cake, but I wanted different. What is your take on that? And you do cakes and cupcakes? You wouldn't do that?
So I do a handful of other desserts as well. I personally love dessert bars. I think they're so like aesthetically pleasing to look at when you walk into a venue and you have like 10 different options. I feel like that's fun for everyone. So yeah, I can do like a small 6-inch cutting cake where I've seen cute Pinterest photos where it's like an editorial photographer and they've got this little vintage style cake that the couple's cutting. And then I can also do cupcakes, cake pops, cookies, brownies, and then I do these like little cake shooter cups. So they kind of look like little parfaits, but you can see all the cake and filling in between, and you get a tiny little spoon for it. But yeah, you can kind of fill the table up to give all your guests different options. That's also, I tell couples, that's a really good way to mix and match flavors. If you need some vegan, some gluten-free, you don't have to accommodate the entire wedding cake. Like, hey guys, sorry, we have 2 vegan guests here, so everyone gets a vegan dessert. You can mix and match what everyone wants, make everyone happy.
Vegans. Okay, I lied. I have one more question. Do like baking a like vegan cake or a gluten-free cake, does that alter the workability with the actual cake, the batter, the actual sponge of the cake or whatever you call it? I do watch the Great British Bake Off, so I like do know what I'm talking about to an extent. I could probably be a judge on that show, but like it's fine.
No, so it can, depending on where you order it from. There are so many different gluten-free flours and vegan butters and different ingredients like that. So if a baker is offering gluten-free or they do offer vegan, they've probably tested their recipe to hopefully make it so that the taste and texture isn't compromised. I know that the gluten-free flour that I use, it's on the expensive side, but when I tried using the cheaper ingredients, it was I was freaking out. I was like, the deadline for the cake was coming up. The cake, I baked it 5 different times. Nothing was working. So I had my dad go to the store, get every bag of this expensive gluten-free flour we could find. And it finally worked out. And so I haven't changed flour ever since. And yeah, so hopefully the taste and texture is fine with whatever baker you're ordering from. But that's also with, getting a cake tasting box before you actually spend however much on the cake. That's definitely important if you want to make sure everything's good. So I feel like now with all of the options in the grocery store, the cake should still taste good, even if you're accommodating different allergies.
There are a million different kinds of flour in the grocery store. Have you ever looked on the flour aisle?
Yeah, Laura, I made a bread during COVID. Of course I looked at the
It's like so like, I don't even know what half of those flours do or what they're supposed to do. So
no,
anyway,
I know there's bread flour and then there's all-purpose flour, and that's my extensive knowledge on flour.
Yeah, I know there's a whole bunch out there.
Okay, now it's time. We want to hear your crazy, wild, shitty, whatever story that you have. We're ready. We want to hear it.
Okay. So I don't have any, like, this cake got destroyed and I didn't know what to do. Luckily, I'm going to knock on wood with that one.
Yeah, seriously.
That keeps me up at night before a delivery thinking if something goes wrong. That would be the worst thing ever. But the very first multi-tiered cake that I did, it was a 3-tiered cake, served about 100 people, and it was a groom's cake. So it had like sports team decorations going around each tier. And the delivery was an hour and a half away in like August or something.
Oh.
And it was my very first tiered cake. And I just personally decided not to put any support dowels in it. I don't know why I thought I could just stack heavy chocolate cake tiers on top of each other. But the entire drive, I was just watching the tiers kind of like start to buckle into each other. And like every stop, it would jiggle a little bit. And luckily it made it to the venue. The couple loved it. It tasted fine. But that was like the worst stress of delivering a cake, not having support dowels in it and just like slowly watching it buckle into itself. So if you want to DIY your own wedding cake, I see a lot of TikToks of people doing their own wedding cakes. Totally fine. Please put dowels in it.
Support your cake.
So obviously they're there for support, but what is the, other than that, can you be a little more technical with the dowels? Like explain that.
So say you have like a 10-inch base tier, I would put like 6 dowels around the perimeter of the size of the next tier. So the next tier would be 8 inches. So I would do like kind of like maybe like a 7-inch circle with 6 support dowels. And then I'd put a thin cardboard cake board so that it has something to sit on. And then the next tier.
Okay.
And then you kind of do that to all the bottom tiers. The top tier doesn't have any dowels in it, but anything that has weight on it needs those dowels with the little thin cardboard cake board, which also makes it way easier for the catering team to take the tiers off of each other and just slice it up when it's got that little board. But yeah, luckily
like
that cake.
It's like architecture for cakes.
Because I'll be honest, like, because after, especially like once you decorate it, and I mean, I've seen what you do, like it's seamless. So being the one consuming the cake, I never realized there was like cardboard, like the layers aren't touching; they're completely separated. I never.
Yeah, and I don't. I mean, I don't know.
I watch the Bake Off. Like I should know that. But like I've never like I don't know why that's the surprises me.
I don't know if the catering team loves the support dowels. I've heard mixed reviews on them having to cut around it, which is another good reason for a dessert table. But
I was just like, oh my God.
Oh, I had to cut around the support dowels.
The couple got their cake delivered perfectly. They loved it. It looked great, but I had to cut around the dowels.
But yeah, so that's my like somewhat, that's not a horror story of a cake, but I've got.
No, that's a horror enough for me because I was starting to like, I could feel the gray hairs popping out.
And me being the kind of easygoing person that I am not, I'm not even gonna lie, if that cake showed up, even if it was Ryan's cake, like a groom's cake, and it was starting to sink, I'd be like, like that would be it. My wedding would be ruined. I didn't like,
Yeah.
and I'm sure like, thank
Oh, you
God
mean
that,
as the couple?
like, thank
No,
God that couple was like, oh my God, it's totally fine. For me, because of the level of stress that I was already at on my wedding day, I would have been like, of course this happens to me.
No, I was thinking totally of the cake baker. I would have been like, here's your cake, bye.
Yeah. So this is it. Here's the
Oh my God.
flavors. Best of luck.
And luckily it was the groom's cake. So it was the rehearsal dinner before the actual wedding.
Oh, yes.
So yes, so they used a different baker for the wedding cake. This was my very first cake. I had no portfolio, no website, anything. So the fact that they trusted me to do that in the first place, I'm surprised. But I was, yeah. So that's like a little cake.
Good. I mean, that's great. Thank God there was nothing more than that.
I know.
I know.
Thank you so much. If you can please let everyone know where they can find you on your website, your social media, so they can see all the amazing creations that you put out there. I know everyone's going to be
checking it out.
Yeah, absolutely. My Instagram is Banko Bake. My all lowercase, just Banko, and then bake. And then my TikTok's the same. I'm also on Pinterest if you want to save any ideas on there. And then my email, if you want to reach out, bankobake@gmail.com. And then my website is just bankobake.com. Everything's super simple, super easy to find. But yeah, I've got my full contact form on my website, my full wedding gallery, and then all of the fun behind the scenes kind of little tips and trick videos on all my social media.
Awesome.
Thank you for sharing.
Yes. Thank you so much, Maggie. It was so great having you on.
Thank you so much. I had so much fun.
I love Maggie.
Yeah, she's adorable.
She's precious. We must protect her at all costs.
I just want to invite her over to my house and sit,
bake.
and I just want to sit at the counter at like the little bar stool and be like, you go, honey, fix it
I
up,
want to
make whatever you.
her.
Yeah,
like a little girl. Like we'll have some wine, we'll bake some cake, decorate some cupcakes. It'll be super cute.
Yeah, it sounds like so much fun. I think we should put that on the calendar.
Yep, we're gonna go ahead and get her booked in for that. If y'all have any crazy wedding cake stories, like your cake was destroyed on arrival, or even if it was destroyed at the rehearsal reception, we want to hear about that. Send us those stories to stories@cheerstothatshit.com. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok. We put out a YouTube video every week, just like our episodes. So see us there. What a day. I'm fantasizing about the cupcakes.
I know, me too.
All right, guys, until next time.
We'll see you later.
Bye.